Hello from the Old Man Sailing Channel. I just want to show you two things on this boat. Have a look at this. This is fairly typical. And this is the state of the varnish and the paint on the inside. It's shabby. I mean, it really is. I mean, come and look at the loo. This is embarrassing. I mean, take a look at this. I'll put the light on. I mean, that's dreadful, isn't it? Basically, look at this. This is embarrassing. It really is. I mean, I haven't made any real attempt to decorate the inside of this boat since I've had her, which is 9 years. And she's been used constantly and suffered. I'll show you something else too. Let's come out on the foredeck. You know, I can clean that. That's all right, that dirty mark. But look at this up here. Look at all this rust stains. Look at the state of that chain. That chain is only 3 years old. And look at it. The reason it's that bad is it's used all the time. Either it is, you know, in the water because I'm anchored, or it's getting salt spray all over it because I'm sailing hard into the wind. Well, while we're at it, here we go. Going not too slowly, but not exactly fast. All right, got to make sure I don't fall over the side here. And the reason I show you these things is because I've been told that my little videos on Instagram have been viewed 1.5 million times over, I think, the last 3 days, which is astonishing. And they now tell me that they're going to start paying me. And I thought, well, that's all very well, but I'm going to have to keep making videos. And I thought, well, what am I going to make them about? And that brought to mind a conversation I had with my son Hugo when he came to join me in Grenada. And he taught me to use the GoPro camera, which I'd had for 2 years and never got to grips with it. And I now know how to work it. I can make a sort of basic little video with iMovies on the laptop. But it's the time it all takes. I've got other things to do. So what I said to Hugo was that, look, I love sitting in the cockpit and just watching the sea. Surely other people would like to do that. And he said, no, people want interesting stuff. And I said, well, hang on a minute, we're going to tack. And I said, well, there's plenty of interesting stuff on the YouTube, but there's no video of just people watching the sea. And so I experimented on my blog with putting the soundtrack from a podcast onto video just of the boat sailing along. And I thought it was absolutely mesmerizing. Hugo said it was rubbish. Nobody'd want to watch that. So what I'm going to do is show you that now. A typical podcast against the video of the sea going by. And what I would like very much, if you wouldn't mind, is if you would just leave me a comment and say, yes, you like it, you would be happy to view that sort of content, or no, it's rubbish, I wouldn't look at it. Because if enough people do, then what I can do is I can get a decorator to come in and redecorate the whole of the inside of the boat. I simply could not do this. I do not have the patience for all that preparation work, because with decorating, it's all in the preparation. The actual painting is the easy part. So I would get a professional decorator to come and do the whole of the inside of the boat. I'd have to empty it out, get off the boat for 2 weeks. Probably when I'm in Australia and I'm coming back from my son's wedding, so that'll be 2 or 3 weeks back here, back in the UK, and he could do it then. And the other thing about the chain, you see, what I could have is stainless steel chain. That has two huge advantages. One is it doesn't go anything like as rusty. Maybe a little surface rust, but nothing like that. And so you wouldn't be weeping rust stains all over the deck. And secondly, it wouldn't get jammed in the chain locker, because every time I anchor, I have to pull up at least 20 meters of chain, pile it up on deck, and then feed it back into the chain locker so that I know when I drop the anchor, it will run free. It's a bit like sorting out the sheets so that they run free when you're tacking. And that is a tiresome thing to do, particularly since the chain is filthy. It's rusty, it's got mud all over it, and it makes a terrible mess of me and all over my hands, all over my clothes, all over the deck, of course. And this is all very well, except stainless steel chain, I think, costs something like 5 times as much as galvanized. And so it's not something that you would buy unless, you had a lot of money coming in. But if Instagram's going to pay for it, that is a different kettle of fish. So let me know what you think. Here it is. Friday the 3rd of April 2026, Martinique to St. Lucia. In the last 24 hours, said the ship's doctor, you have fainted, fallen over, and started another fire on board. Then he added, this cannot go on. I started doing my ba routine, which means that I have an objection, a justification, or at the very least some sort of protestation to put forward, only I cannot find the words for it just at the moment. So I had better explain. Ever since arriving on board Samsara in Grenada, fresh from the family skiing holiday in Austria, my youngest son Hugo has usurped the role of ship's doctor. The holiday had been marred only by the family ganging up on me over my vegetarian diet, or, to be more precise, my paltry protein intake. Since we now have a doctor in the family in the hulking shape of number 2 son Theo, there wasn't much I could say in my defence, and Liana, number 1 son Owen's fiancée and a fellow vegetarian, was no help at all. No sooner were we back aboard than Hugo insisted on taking an inventory of my typical day's diet and counting up every gram of protein. It was quite clear that I was woefully lacking in this. Half a tin of kidney beans, 1 boiled egg, a handful of pistachio nuts. These things do not grow rough, tough ocean sailors. And I must confess that over the past few years I have despaired at seeing pictures of myself with my shirt off. What happened to my muscles? I look like an old man. So, under Hugo's guidance, I have started to eat chicken, fish and cheese again. But no red meat, and certainly no pork. There is a reason so many religions ban pork. Also, I cannot bear to face a plate of delicious calamari, knowing that the octopus is such a gentle and intelligent creature that it really does arrange an octopus's garden in the shade. Consequently, yesterday, at anchor in Fort de France, Hugo took the dinghy ashore before breakfast to buy a proper French baguette from a proper French boulangerie. We ate it with 2 boiled eggs each and half a jar of Bon Maman confiture d'abricot, along with the obligatory freshly squeezed orange juice and black coffee. The sun was hot, the baguette was full of protein, and the confiture d'abricot was as sweet and glutinous as ever. I began to feel a little dizzy with the excitement. "I feel a little dizzy," I said. "Drink some water," said Hugo. He's always saying, "Drink some water." I think this was his parting instruction from Dr. Theo at Salzburg Airport. The next thing I knew, Hugo was standing over me in a state of great alarm, and my shorts were all wet. What had happened, and I am ready to dispute this, after all we only have Hugo's word for it, is that I passed out, even before my shaking hand with the water bottle reached my mouth. My head lolled back, mouth open, the water poured all over my lap, and Hugo went into full panic mode. He phoned Dr. Theo. Dr. Theo did not answer. He was due for his face-to-face Zoom Italian lesson. Dr. Theo should have a receptionist. Hugo phoned his mum. She was in London in the West End watching Lifeline about the discovery of penicillin. Very appropriate. Tamsin is a former paediatric nurse. She didn't answer. The panic mode now rising to DEFCON 5, Hugo punched out a message to the family WhatsApp group. "Somebody answer the phone. Dad collapsed." That was when I woke up, wondering what all the fuss was about and why my shorts were all wet. I felt fine. I said so, repeatedly, as, one by one, every member of the family phoned back, clamouring for news, and Theo went all family doctor on me. I should get myself checked out. Did we have an ECG machine on board? I should at least have my blood pressure taken. Had I banged my head? Was I lying down? Good idea, a little lie down after breakfast. It took 10 minutes to get him off the phone, and even then I jumped every time I heard an ambulance siren. But I really did feel fine. It was just too much breakfast in the hot sun. And maybe I really should drink more water. And so, panic over, Hugo and I took the bus to the giant Carrefour to stock up on sardines and pink salmon and French cheese, and no men in white coats appeared. So we decided to take ourselves off for dinner in a really good French restaurant. The when in France compulsion covering more than just fresh baguette for breakfast. The really good French restaurant was closed, much to the annoyance of the man who turned up at the same time. He had a reservation. Never mind, we found another, and it really was very good indeed. I forget quite what we had. It was that good. The only mouche in the consommé was that it had been raining, one of those sudden showers so typical of the Antilles in April, and the pavements were wet. And Martinique, being part of France and not your usual somewhat basic Caribbean island, has decorative ceramic pavements which gleam attractively under the party lights shining from all the bars. Deceptively attractively, in fact, given that these pavements become dangerously slippery under an old man wearing Crocs. I fell heavily and got up to find my right forearm bleeding all over the attractive ceramic patterns. I went into the place where we'd had lunch to wash it, reasoning that, technically speaking, I was still a customer, as well as an emergency. I rocked up at the really good restaurant clutching a wad of paper towel to my arm so that they would still let us in. Anyway, it stopped bleeding by the pavlova. When we got back to the boat, I dressed it in elastoplast soaked in tea tree oil, and I'm sure it's healing nicely. Besides, this morning I had other things to worry about. The batteries were down to 23%. There's not much wind in the anchorage under the fort, and it had been generally cloudy. Breakfast was going to be courtesy of the little alcohol camping stove. I filled the reservoir carefully to 2/3. I placed it on the gimbal stove. I wiped away a few drops of spilt alcohol. I lit it with the turbo lighter. It burst into flames. The next few minutes I shall gloss over. It is enough for you to know that the fire blanket took a long time to douse the flames. Hugo wanted to break out the fire extinguisher and strike knob hard. I said this would make an awful mess. He said not as much mess as burning down the boat. The flames went out just in time. Hugo looked up how many times you can use a fire blanket. Answer, normally once. I claimed this was a one-off because in wiping away the few drops of spilled alcohol, I had allowed the gimbal stove to swing and spilled a whole lot more. I will know better next time. There won't be a next time, said Hugo. Doctors don't know anything, especially ship's doctors.